Okay, we finally had the first close of ETH, the first weekly ETH close outside of this downward trend since when was it? Since November 2021, and already I'm hearing people saying ETH is overheated, ETH is overvalued. You're crazy to start buying ETH now. I want to have a discussion, and I want to actually look at the data to show you whether or not ETH is actually overvalued or overheated at this point in time. And I think the findings of that data are actually going to shock you. Today is all about ETH. Is it overvalued? Is it overheated? Or are we still early? Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. I would say this is like the first week of the bull market. Like if I look at the bubbles and I put them on the weekly, I would say this is like the first week of the real bull market in the altcoins. And already people are saying, oh no, ETH is overvalued. We've hit the local top. You better start selling now. Guys, we need to have a chat and we need to actually look at the data. I'm going to show you the data. And after you've looked at data, we can decide whether ETH is overvalued and whether the altcoins are actually overvalued. And I think, spoiler alert, I don't think so. But I mean, look, data is data, and let's actually look at the look at the actual data. The good thing for me is when I look at these, you know, it makes me so happy to look at like the biggest bubbles in this thing and to basically say, look, at front runners, we basically were in every single one of these. We were in Lido, we were in Link, we were in Aerodrome, we were in Athena, we were in Pump was one of our biggest holdings. Okay, we weren't that deep into Pendle. It makes me so happy to just see that all the front runners coins are really performing. And I gave you guys a million chances, and I begged you guys, come into front runners just for a month, try it. If you didn't like it, we would have given you back your money back. And I think those that do, if you're in the chat and you're in front runners, please let me know what your experience is. I'm really dying to know what your experience is in front runners. We've called them banger after banger after banger after banger. Anyway, for those of you who are not, I guess, you know, I don't know, I can take the horse to the water. I can't make the horse drink. But I do think we need to talk about this, and we need to talk about which altcoins we should be getting into, because it is moving very fast. And I think the whole theme of this period, this show today, is about moving really fast. I'm going to get fast into the alpha. You're going to get fast into obliterating the like button. I bring alpha, you bring likes. I bring alpha, you bring likes. And it works in perfect synchrony, like the synchronized divers. It works in perfect synchrony. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this week or this weekend. I think for me, if anything, I realized that after this weekend that things are going to move fast. Things now at this part of the cycle actually tend to move really fast. Suzu says it's a super cycle. I remember the last time we started speaking about super cycle. In the super cycle, things tend to move really fast. And that's pretty much how this is actually playing out. I want to remind you that if we follow the previous cycle, if we do, and I'm not saying we will, I'm saying if we follow the previous cycle. In the previous cycle, from where we are now until the blow off top, there were 84 days, there were 12 weeks to get this done. And, you know, as much as I don't want this to be the same as the previous cycle, you know, you've got to look at this and say, you know, we had the dip, we're moving back up. It does feel like it's playing out exactly like the previous cycle. So you have to start at that starting point and say, like, okay, it's playing out like the previous cycle. If that's the case, then in the last cycle, 12 weeks from now was the end of the bull market, right? And that would mean it's the same. If I look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, if I look exactly at the Bitcoin dominance chart, from the time that the Bitcoin dominance chart broke the 50 week, right? From the if you looked at the weekly chart of Bitcoin dominance and you looked at the 50-week moving average, from the time that Bitcoin broke below the 50-week moving average to the bottom of the Bitcoin dominance, which means that that's the part where alts topped against Bitcoin. That was 15 weeks. So things are going to happen really fast. And we've got a lot to get through in a very short period of time. You've got ETH to break through all-time highs. You've got altcoins to put in new highs. You've got a blow off top that all needs to happen between now and 84 days from now. It's like, just think, 84 days, guys. 84 days. Imagine it. Like, all this has to happen in 84 days. We have to put in a blow off top. We have to have ETH outperform Bitcoin. We have to have the altcoins go absolutely rampant. We have to have the Bitcoin dominance drop from 60 to somewhere around 40 or 35. We have to have a rate cut. We have to have a series of rate cuts in the next 84 days. I mean, like speaking of the rate cuts, we do have the inflation data coming, the July inflation data coming out this week. It's coming out tomorrow, right? I think regardless of the inflation data, we're getting a rate cut because of the jobs numbers that actually happened. So I think regardless of that, we're getting a rate cut. The rate cut probabilities, when I look now at the rate cut probabilities, the rate cut probabilities are 86.5%. And I think after the inflation tomorrow, if the inflation tomorrow is a beat, and when I say a beat, 2.8% is the forecast. The bankers are looking for 2.7, between 2.7 and 2.8, so 2.8%. Trueflation is telling us, guys, we're on 1.78%. So I'm sure we're going to get a rate cut in September. I'm 100% sure we're going to get a rate cut in September. The question is whether there's any possibility that we actually end up getting 2 rate cuts in September. And I think that's where I'm keeping my eye on the ball. So anyway, there's a lot that needs to happen. It needs to happen really fast. Rate cuts, blow off top, Bitcoin dominance breaking down. We all need to make life-changing money. Life-changing money. So it's a Freudian. That's that Freudian slip that happens to me at this time of year. Everything has to happen really, really, really fast. But I do want to address like the one thing that everyone's like this weekend. People were hassling me about, and they were like, "Hey, like." You cannot touch ETH. You mustn't buy ETH. ETH has just touched 4,200. It's crazy that you're buying now. You're buying the top. Even Fefe, I love Fefe dearly. He's one of my favorite people in the world. But he's like, okay, the market's top now. Okay, it's not a top. I don't think that it's a top. I will give it to you. We have had a lot of hype and euphoria on ETH, and my timeline is absolutely euphoric when it comes to ETH. You've got Tommy Lee. So I call Tommy Lee and Joseph Lubin Superman and Batman, right? So you got Superman and Batman for ETH. The Superman and Batman for ETH are now going on to CNBC every 30 minutes. And all they talk about is how ETH's going to be, doing 120x. And I mean, okay, it is that. You got Bloomberg now talking about ETH and how it's ETH's time to shine. I mean,
than just an asset. It's something that can generate income. It's like the internet of digital assets. You can build stuff on top of it. And the treasury company, that's their biggest selling pitch, that they have really yield. And Bernstein actually came up with a stat saying that
come on, guys, you know this. You know that when the mainstream media actually starts talking about an asset, that's really sometimes close to a local top. You've got these very, very, very euphoric tweets on the timeline. I know you've got them on your timeline because I've got them on my timeline. Loving Aave means loving ETH. Loving abstract chain means loving ETH. And I mean, he's right. He's right about this tweet. I'm not going to take it away from him. So there is a lot of euphoria on the timeline. Forget 10K ETH. It's actually going to be 20K ETH. Guys, there is a lot of euphoria on the timeline. That's what I posted this morning. I said, there's ETH euphoria. That's pretty much what I'm seeing now on my timeline. But that is one part of it. And I want to actually talk about the other part of it, the more data-driven approach. From a market sentiment point of view, I agree with you. It seems like ETH has not top, but ETH has got to some kind of local top. But I want to actually look at the data around ETH. And then after we look at the data, let's make a decision as to whether we've hit a local top or whether we haven't hit a local top. So this is my dig into the data. And afterwards, I'll show you exactly what you should be doing right now as well. So that when I look at the data, let's just look at the data. So I want to maybe, let's look at something like this. Let's say ETH 4,200. And let's look at the last times ETH was at 4,200. And let's compare where ETH was the last time at 4,200 with this time at 4,200 and decide which is a better 4,200, right? Which 4,200 would you rather own? So, I mean, if you want to do that, I think we should probably go to here, which is December 2024, and then here, which is like March, April 2024. Those were both ETH 4,200s. So now you got to ask yourself, which 4,200 ETH do you actually want to own? Do you want to own this 4,200 ETH or this 4,200 ETH? The first thing, I mean, you can just look on the chart here. This is the first time this 4,200 is not a top, but it's a break of trend. This was a top. It was not a break of any trend. This 4,200 is a break of trend. We were in a downward trend. We broke through the downward trend. This is, by the way, the first week. This is the first week of the downtrend. Can you imagine? Like you've been waiting for something for 3 years. Is it 3 years? I think it's even longer. It's 1,378 days. 1,365 days. You've been waiting for something for 1,365 days. And when that once 1,365 days arrives, in fact, let's break it down into weeks. You've been waiting for 1,365 days divided by 7. I don't have a calculator in my head. But you finally get that breakthrough. You finally get that breakthrough. And you're like, no, bro, it's overvalued. It's overvalued. We've been waiting 3 years for this. Nearly 4. And on the first week that it happens, it's like you're waiting to go to a party. And you're like, this is like the party of the century. It's one of those parties where, all the brothers go to gym and they get like all buff for the actual party. And they're like trained for like 3 months for this actual summer party in Ibiza. They get to the party at like 11 o'clock at night. 11:05, they're like, oh, boys, we should go home. No, bro. You've been training your whole life for this one party. Anyway, we've been training for 4 years for this one party. The next thing is, if I look at the fundamentals, not the actual data, and we'll look at the data in a second. ETH last time versus ETH this time. ETH last time, no crazy, insatiable ETF demands, right? ETH January did not look like $1 billion a week of ETH inflows into the ETFs. ETH January or ETH December did not have 401ks where money can now go tax-free and switch from other assets in your 401k into ETH assets in your 401k. ETH December and January, ETH 2024, ETH December didn't have the Genius Act and stablecoins, right? There's no such thing. ETH December didn't have World Liberty and Trump going buy ETH, otherwise you're basically going to go to prison. That's pretty much what they've been saying to you. ETH December also didn't have Batman and Robin, or what did I call them? Batman and Superman, Batman and Tommy Lee, going to CNBC every 30 seconds and talking about ETH. ETH December didn't have treasury companies. It didn't have Bitmine Immersion, SharpLink, and a whole lot of other treasury companies. Now, you want to tell me that with that kind of data, you're really comparing this 4200 to this 4200? Which 4200 would you prefer to own? Like, you have to apply like some kind of logic to all of this, right? That's like the first thing. I mean, just to give you one data point here, the ETH net capital change has surpassed the Bitcoin net capital change. What does this basically mean? It means that the net amount flowing into Bitcoin versus the net amount flowing into ETH. Right now, for the first time, the net amount flowing into ETH every week is actually starting to be bigger than the amount flowing into Bitcoin. It's a great sign that there's a massive shift in the risk profile. Anyway, be that as it may, those are all news. Those are all fundamentals. Let's actually look at the data, the charts, and everything else. So I want you, again, the idea here is to compare ETH 2020, ETH $4,000 2024 model to, it's like a car. You're comparing the ETH 4200 to a 2025 model to 2024 December model and a 2024 March model. It's like when you're buying a car, basically. So let's look at it. The first thing is we're at 4,200, and the fear and greed has not yet hit extreme greed. Can you believe that? And I want you to go back and I want to show you. This is ETH. This is the ETH chart, and this is the fear and greed chart. Now here's 2024. Here is where we topped in 2024, and here is the fear and greed at 85 on this scale over here. Guys, the fear and greed is at 70. We've been nowhere near 85. Okay, even here in March, when we topped previously, the fear and greed was at 82. We're at 70. So there's no euphoria in this market. And you can see it in the funding rates. If you look at the funding rates over here, the funding rates in December were yellow. You see how yellow the funding rates were here in December? This means that the market was extremely overheated and people were living on a lot of leverage. Guys, we're green. Not only are we green, but like we're very green. Like you could smoke this. That's how green this stuff is. It's green. It's not overheated at all. On top of that, none of the bull market indicators, and by the way, this thing's got 30 bull market indicators. Not a single one of these bull market indicators is overheated. I wonder if I can get researchers, can you get me this page on Wayback Machine with a screen with a thing in December? Please, researchers, if you could do that. I know you guys are watching. So if you could drop it for me quickly into one of our groups here. The next thing is, if you look at the top indicators, this is a top indicator that you can actually get on trading view. It's a top indicator. It's called the BTI indicator. And on the BTI indicator, which combines a whole lot of other indicators, none of these indicators are basically anywhere near a top. If I look at basic other indicators, I look at like the YouTube views, nowhere near a top. And in fact, look at the January-December period over here, and look at where we are now. We're nowhere near where we were in January or December. Retail is absolutely not here. In fact, let me actually show you when I say retail is absolutely not here. This is a screenshot from December 3rd, 2024. And on December 3rd, 2024, the Coinbase app rank was 11. Okay, which means that there was a lot of people downloading the Coinbase app. Retail was here, and the market was getting euphoric. Today, the Coinbase app rank is 275. No one's here yet, guys. And you're telling me that we've topped on ETH? No one is here. How could we possibly have topped on ETH? The app ranks 278 and Robinhood is on 251. We're nowhere near top. What the researcher said, I don't think they have a snapshot tool on that website for peak indicators. You can try. We can try. Someone says Frontrunner is basically the creme de la creme. Exactly. If you're in it, you know about it. Okay, so let's look at some other indicators. So if I look at the ETH RSI, the ETH RSI has just broken 70. If I look at all the previous times that the ETH RSI broke 70, you can see that basically it's carried on beyond those points. So you can see exactly what happened here, and you can see exactly what happened here. It broke 70. It continued to rise to about 90, and that's where we went near the top of the cycle. Another indicator which shows you the dominance by open interest, and what this indicator basically shows you, it shows you the altcoin open interest versus the Bitcoin open interest. And if you look at November and December 2024, you'll notice that the altcoin open interest was much higher than the Bitcoin open interest. What does that mean? Well, it means that people were euphoric and they were willing to take leverage on altcoins in December 2024. Now I look at it again as to where we are today. We're nowhere near there. We're nowhere near there. Look, we're probably here. We're probably here in the cycle. So, and the last one that I want to look at, Joe, is I want to look at the MVRV score. The MVRV score is it's a approach to calculate the proportion of days held to history, where MVRV has traded below. Basically, the MVRV shows you how overheated the market is. So if you look at the MVRV here, whenever the MVRV has topped, that's usually when the market cycle actually topped. And you can see it here, and you can see it again here. Now I look at the MVRV, it's relatively low. And this is specifically the ETH MVRV. I can't see a way that you can tell me that this market is completely overheated, right? And then I look at some other indicators, which I think we did mention at the beginning of the show, but let's talk about some of them. The first one is this Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin dominance now has just broken below the 200-day moving average. In 2024, Bitcoin dominance didn't break below the 200 and the 50-week moving average. It's the first time that it's done that in actually quite a long time. You can see it here with the 50. We had a small breakdown here, but we quickly retested and went straight back up. Then you look at ETH BTC, right? So ETH BTC put in a golden cross over here. Now, I don't think we had that in 2024. We didn't have that one. So it feels to me like this is a completely different 4,200 on ETH. And I would be much more comfortable holding this 4,200 than holding the previous 4,200. That's kind of like how I see this market. And so, I don't know, maybe you can argue that ETH will have some kind of correction, and maybe we will get to, I don't know, maybe we'll go back to $3,600 and we'll bounce back up again. If you're playing on the day trading range and whatever else, then yeah, I agree with you. Probably don't want to be doing it. I mean, let's just quickly get ETH. Let's go here, ETH USD. Let's quickly just look at on the daily. Let's just look at the daily over here. And let's quickly just get the RSIs here. Maybe on the daily, the RSI is quite high. I don't think so, but we can look. Yeah, okay, the RSI is at 72 on the daily. So you could argue, well, you know what? Let's actually go into a lower time frame, like the 1 hour. Well, sorry, the 4 hour. Yeah, maybe you could argue that it's a little bit overheated. I'm not sure you can, to be honest. I'm not sure that you can. But it's definitely not. It's definitely the beginning of the cycle, of this part of the cycle, and not the end of this part of the cycle, as some people are already alluding, which is absolutely crazy. As I said, when I look at the altcoins, I mean, look, number one, for me, the great thing about these altcoins is literally, if you're in front runners, you can put your hand on your heart and you can say, the three biggest calls that we've actually made are these calls over here: Pump Fund, Athena, Lido, and those are the ones that we've been calling it. Pump Fund is nearly back at 0.037. You know, guys, I made a show about that and I begged you guys last week. I said, guys, please buy Pump Fund. 𝗏𝗏, do you remember that show? And do you know what happened to that show? I'll tell you what happened to that show. It hardly got any views. Literally, look, it hardly got any views. Because everyone was like, you're crazy. I want to show it to you because it really upsets me. So like normal shows, 55,000, 60, Pump Fund Rally, 36,000 shows. Basically saying, this is a crazy thing. Pump Fund was at 0.26 or 27 at this point in time. Now Pump Fund's at 0.37. Anyone that followed that call landed up making like amazing money. Amazing money out of that. And I really hope you did. I know I made I think I'm like 300 or 400% up now on Pump Fund. Okay, so now let's talk about altcoins, right? So the one thing about the altcoins is amazing week. Probably the beginning of the altcoin season. The first week we could actually say we're moving into altcoin seasons. You could choose to look at it in one of two ways, and I want to discuss the one of two ways that you can choose to look at it. The first thing is you can kind of say that the RSIs and the altcoins have broken out of a 3-year downtrend. And I agree with you. If you look at the charts, the altcoins have broken out of a 3-year downtrend. Finally, right? If you look at total 2, which is the altcoins including ETH divided by Bitcoin on a monthly log scale, you can see that there's been a breakout of the RSI, or crossover of the RSIs. And usually when that happens, that actually sends the markets up quite a bit. You can choose to look at it like that. Or you can look at it in a slightly different way. And I kind of like this way of looking at the altcoins and the potential altcoin moves. And it's very important. This is to me, this is the most important part of the show. So pay attention here. So when you look at the tokens, when you look at the tokens here, what you can see, and this is a tweet from 𝗏𝗶𝘀, he says, right now, timing is hard. But as Bitcoin is over 100K or 150K or whatever, ETH starts to look pretty cheap. In summer, Bitcoin 50K to 100K seemed a lot easier than 3K to 6K. But if Bitcoin is at 150,000, ETH doubling starts to seem a lot easier than BTC doubling. It doesn't matter though, because both will double from here, and those with bad timing but desire for both assets should likely just continue to hold both and avoid trying to time or to trade ETH BTC. So I think what he's alluding to here is he's saying, look, as Bitcoin rises, the valuations relative to Bitcoin starts to drop. And then for all altcoins, the valuations relative to Bitcoin start to become a lot more enticing, right? And the same thing with ETH. As ETH goes up, all the altcoins relative to ETH actually start to feel much cheaper, right? So if you look at, I'll show you like a breakdown of this. And I want to show you one of the biggest tricks that I've actually learned in blockchain investing, right? So let's look at this. And these are all good quality altcoins that you should have as part of your portfolio. You know, on Saturday night, I did a show for you guys on Lido. The Lido price then was like $1.10 or something. Now it's at 142 or 143 or whatever it is. But I think it's important that you understand this. If you look at this table over here and you look at the last time ETH was, in fact, let's actually copy this table. I think it'll be a good idea to actually copy this table. And I'll show you a little trick here, which is actually quite a cool thing to actually. So let's do this. Let's copy this table over here. Okay, and let's do that. And now let's equals to this divided by this, and then we pray to God the researchers have used formulas and not. Okay, let's just do that, and we'll make this all percentages. Hold on a second. Format, number. Actually, we can do it here. I don't like using Google Sheets. I'm much better at. Okay, so let's look at. Okay, so let's copy that formula to here, and to here. Okay, and to here, and we'll drag it down like. Actually, we can do that. Divided by. I'm just fixing this so that we can. Okay. Okay, so now what we're doing is we are looking at the pump relative to ETH. And okay, let me just finish making that spreadsheet. I'm going to make it again over here. Hold on a second. Okay, so this will give you relative valuations relative to ETH, and I think this is the super important part of it. So if you look at Lido's valuation relative to ETH, it used to cost 0.08. The second time that ETH hit 100 or 4,000, it became 0.06, and today it's 0.04. What we can see is that relative to ETH, some of the very, very, very strong plays are much, much, much more undervalued than they were at this time in December, right? And these are not meme coins or whatever. These are multi-cycle plays. And what you're realizing when you look at these multi-cycle plays, they are nowhere near where they were in December or even last March when ETH was actually, like if you look at like ETHify, the last time that ETH was at $4,000, ETHify was at $2.75. Today it's at $1.21. And so what you can see is that on a relative valuation, it's still 50% or 60% undervalued relative to where it was the last time ETH was going through this. And so this brings me to my point about how you should be investing for this part of the cycle. So there's two ways to make money in assets. And I really wish that someone had taught me this trick sooner. In fact, to me, it's like one of the most important blockchain tricks that I've ever learned. And to be honest, the person who taught me this was 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗀. And I remember in the last cycle, I was investing in a lot of altcoins and I was going down the risk curve a lot. And I was buying very, very, very dangerous meme coins. And there I had my friend 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗀, and he was just like sitting there and he was like very, very chilled. And I asked him like, what are you buying? And he's like, oh, I'm buying Bitcoin, ETH, 𝗬𝗎, and like a couple of others. And I was like, but bro, how are you going to get your returns? And he taught me something very, very, very valuable when it comes to investing in blockchain. He taught me that instead of actually going down the risk curve or up the risk curve in order to get returns, rather just stay with the safer coins and take slightly higher leverage. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to go and get into a meme coin right now, which is going to give you 3 or 4 times the returns that ETH is going to give you, why not just rather buy ETH and actually just take ETH on the 3x leverage, right? Because the meme coin, you're taking 10 units of risk to actually get that extra return, where you can just take the risk of ETH and just leverage up the risk of ETH. And that's how I'd be playing in this market cycle. Instead of going out there and looking to get crazy returns by taking crazy risks, I'm saying no. Rather go and find the ETH betas and ETH that are the safer bets in the cycle. And if you want to amplify your returns, just take a little bit more leverage. And at least then you don't risk the downside where these tokens are going to zero. So for example, when I look at these tokens over here, you know Lido is not going to zero. Lido has been here for 3 market cycles. Lido pretty much ain't going anywhere. You know ENS isn't going to zero. ENS is the most reflective. You know Ondo isn't going to zero. You know Fluid isn't going to zero. You know Pendle isn't going to zero. You know Uniswap's not going to zero, right? So rather buy those, then go and take a chance on other tokens. And if you don't think that you've got enough upside in those, then go and buy Uniswap on a 2 or 3x leverage and just manage your liquidation price. And that's a much smarter investment strategy than going out there and trying to beat the market by going into the lowest value altcoins. In fact, I believe so much in the strategy that I'm actually later on today. In fact, can we maybe drop it now? Like, is it a chance? So can we drop it now? Let's make it live now. There's going to be a video here, which is basically going to, here it is. So that video over here, this hack triples my crypto portfolio return with no added risk. I really think that you should go and watch this video, because it actually breaks down what I think is the best hack in the world. And that's exactly what I would be doing right now. Instead of going out there and taking more risk, instead of going to riskier and crazy altcoins, stick with the ones that you know, the ones that are tried and tested. And if you want to get slightly more returns, just take a little bit more leverage. It's so simple. It's like, it's the best hack that you can have. And you don't have to worry about these tokens going to zero or not surviving multi-cycle or whatever else. tried and tested, and the bloody thing actually works, believe it or not. Anyways, that's what I wanted to communicate with you, and that's exactly what I would be doing right now. I'd be looking at these, and I would be like ENS, Lido, Ondo, Fluid. This is the ETH portfolio that I'd be holding. And if you want it to be a bit more spicy, then just go and take these with 2x or 3x leverage. There's a lot of exchanges that we're a part of, and that we can give you amazing. Today, I'm going to show you the smartest way to make money in crypto without gambling on coins that can disappear overnight. Okay, cool. Yeah, so, all right, before we go, I want to talk about something else, because as some of you rightly noticed, and you are right about this, this trading portfolio is shooting the lights out. This bot portfolio is shooting the lights out. And I want to show you this because, remember I said to you, I've like fallen in love with grid bots, and we've set up a whole lot of grid bots. I want to show you this. So this is a grid bot that I actually set up yesterday, and this is what I love about these grid bots. The bots trade in grids. And so even though yesterday we took a position on Pengu, remember I opened a position live for you guys on Pengu. When I started, the price was 0.38561. Now the Pengu price is slightly lower. Oh my goodness, the Pengu price is slightly lower than when I actually started. So I've lost $66 on the actual trade. But that's where the grid bots are super smart. Because remember, the grid bots are trading in and out and in and out and in and out on the grids. And so even though I'm down on the Pengu, I'm up on the grid. And so my loss is close to zero. And what you'll notice now is that these bots are actually starting to make a lot of money. Like the Athena bot, which I actually opened last night. And remember I told you I thought Athena was going to explode. And the Athena bot actually opened last night. So you can see that made $291 on the trade itself, on the move of Athena. But then I made another $52, which is like, I made another $50 on the bot trading on the actual grid. I really hope that you guys are understanding how powerful this mechanism of actually trading is. As I said to you guys before, if you want to copy my bots, so number one, if you want to copy my bots, sign up with that link over here. Use this to get your $1,000 plus sign up bonus, and then this is how you can copy all of my bots. Or you can go here and try and learn how to trade with the bots and do it. Okay, now here's the good news. Here's the good news. The good news is that I've managed to get Pionex to actually give us a free account. So when I say a free account, it's not exactly a free account. So look here. So I've managed to get Pionex to give us a $5,000 account, which is over here. Here it is. There's $5,000 loaded onto this account over here. As you can see in the wallet, let's go to the wallet, $5,000 loaded into that account. What I'm going to do in the next couple of days, and I'm not going to do it right now because right now I don't see an entry into the bots. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say anybody who opens an account with Pionex and actually deposits money into that account, so we know you're a real account, you're not actually a bot. In the next 30 days, so till the 11th of September, we're going to put you guys into lottery, and we're going to invest this full account here, and you can have this account. I'll just give you the user, because it's not KYC, so I'll just give you the username and the password, and you can have this account. And I'm hoping that by the time I do it, this account will be worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Okay, so I'm not going to set up any bots now because I just don't see the meat of actually setting up a bot right now. But I will, in the next couple of days, I will actually set up a couple of bots. And you'll be able to if you open an account and started trading in that account, then you'll be able to do it. Guys, it is the most money that I'm actually making on bots. Even though other bots are starting to make money again. The 𝗵𝗫𝘀 bot is up again. He's up 7%, 6.5%. The 𝗪𝗪 bot is still recouping some of his losses. He had a bad trade in his first 7 days. I think he was a bit too aggressive, but he is recouping some of the losses. So I do love bot trading, but for me right now, the grid bots are all the rage. Really, they're all the rage, and it's an app. I think for me, it's an absolutely amazing way to make money in an up and a down, market and a sideways market. All right, I see the market's firing, so we can just take one last look together at the market. Let's have a look here. So wow, ETH is going back to 4,300. Pump is going back to 37 or 0.37. I think the bubble's the best way to look at this. Oh, I love these bubbles so much. Look at the pump bubble. Do you know how happy that makes me? It's like one of my biggest positions right now. Like I've been calling it, when you call and we call and you call and you call something and then people don't listen and don't listen and don't listen and don't listen. And then it finally happens. And I think it's just started. And I'm quite euphoric about it. I know you can't see it, but I'm quite euphoric about it. All right, chaps, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.